The case you're about to see and the characters portrayed are fictional, but the procedure is legally accurate. The characters are played by actors, but the jury is selected from members of the general public. Olive Hope stands accused of harassing her next-door neighbour and tenant, Audrey Taylor, over a number of months. Mrs. Taylor is about to give her evidence.
The evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Is your full name Audrey Taylor?
Yes.
And you live at 34 Grange Lane, Fulchester?
That's right, yes.
Mrs. Taylor, one couldn't help but notice when you took the oath that your hand was trembling rather badly. Would you mind telling the court the reason for this?
Oh, yes, well, it's the pills the doctor gives me. It sometimes makes my hand shake. I've got bad nerves. Very.
Do you sleep well at night?
No, I've got pills for that too.
Now, how long have you been obliged to take pills of this kind?
A year and a half.
I see. And has your weight remained unchanged over that period?
No, I've lost nearly 2 stone.
Now, before March 1976, what was the general state of your health?
Well, it was pretty good, really.
So, to summarise, in the last 18 months, you've been changed from a healthy, cheerful woman, middle years, to an acutely nervous person who finds it difficult even to sleep. Is that a fair summary, Mrs. Taylor?
Yes. Yes.
Now, Mrs. Taylor, are you a native of Fulchester?
No, I was born in London. I lived there most of my life.
But 3 years ago, in August 1974, you uprooted yourself and you moved here. Is that correct?
That's right, yes.
Now, would you kindly tell the court how this move came about? Take your time, Mrs. Taylor.
Yes, well, Olive, Mrs. Hope.
That's the accused behind me.
Yes, well, we'd been friends for many years, but, well, because we lived so far apart, we didn't see very much of one another. We used to write, you know, correspond. And then about 3 years ago, after my divorce, Olive wrote to me and suggested that it would be nice if I came and lived next door to her, here in Fulchester. That way, she said, we could be close to one another, but still keep our own privacy.
Now, let's get this clear. The defendant owns the freehold of both 34 and 36 Grange Lane, is that so?
That's right, yes.
So she would continue living...
in 36 and me in 34.
Now, are these houses detached?
No, they're part of a terrace. Mine, number 34, is at the end of the terrace. They're quite old, rather small, but, well, you know, it's a respectable sort of house.
Yes, indeed. Now, did you know why the defendant had purchased number 34 as well as number 36?
Yes, that was to be for her son Colin when he got married, but then he went away, so the house was empty.
I see. And at this time, was there a garden wall between 34 and 36?
No, not even a bit of fence. And there was a door in the hall, so that you could get from one house to the other without getting your feet wet.
Then, in August 1974, you were granted a lease whereby you became the tenant of 34 Grange Lane, described as an unfurnished dwelling.
Yes.
May she be shown Exhibit 1? Is that the lease signed by yourself and the defendant?
Yes.
Our members of the jury, you should all have copies.
What is the length of the term?
The lease is for 5 years, Your Honour.
Oh, yes, 5.
Now, Mrs. Taylor, you said that the defendant mentioned that the arrangement would give you both privacy. Does privacy mean a lot to you?
Oh, yes, it does. I need time to myself.
Yes, and did the defendant respect your privacy after you moved in?
No, she did not. Well, I expect she really meant to be kind, but, well, she just wouldn't leave me alone. I mean, like the house was supposed to be unfurnished, but there was all Colin's things there. I had to pile all mine in the lumber room. And then there was another time when I wanted to paint the kitchen. I wanted it white. But Olive insisted on duck egg. If there's one colour I can't abide, it's duck egg blue.
But she got her way?
Oh, yes.
Now, what about your garden?
Oh, I mean, I couldn't touch that. That was more than my life was worth. It was all her plants, you see. But it wasn't just the house. I mean, she wanted to take over my whole existence. She was in and out all blessed day.
Through the communicating door that she'd had made when her son was living in the house before you?
Yes, or through the back or the front door. I mean, she got keys to all of them. It got so that my heart sank every time I heard her.
Now, did you ever tell her that you wanted more time to yourself?
Oh, yes, but she wouldn't listen.
Now, how long did this interference continue?
Well, for about a year. Then in the summer, 1975 that was, I found a firm of builders, Joseph Bell and Sons. Well, you see, the roof had been leaking. So while they were there, I got them to change all the locks.
I see. And did they do that?
Yes. And then when they'd done that, I got them to take all Colin's stuff and put it through into the Hall of 36. Well, you see, Olive was away for the weekend. And after that, I got them to put 2 strong bolts on the door on my side so that, well, so that Olive couldn't just barge in.
Yes, now, was there a lock put on this door as well, one you could turn with a key?
No, just the bolts. And then while they were doing that, Mr. Bell himself put up a little fence just between Olive's side of the garden and mine. It was only a token thing. And then I wrote a letter to Olive telling her what I'd done and why. It was, well, it was a friendly letter, but, you know, it was firm.
Yes, of course. Now, what was her reaction?
Oh, I didn't hear anything from her, not all the winter. Then in the March, she comes round with a month's notice to quit. Just like that. I mean, I told her she had no right. But, I mean, after a month, I didn't move, and well, then the trouble began. She started telephoning me all the time.
Yes. Now, let's take a closer look at these telephone calls. They began, you say, in April?
Early April, yes.
Now, when you picked up the receiver, did the caller speak?
Oh, yes.
And did you recognise the voice?
Oh, yes, it was her, all right.
And what did she say on these occasions?
Terrible things. I mean, she called me everything under the sun. Filthy things. Dirty bitch, prostitute. She promised to make my life a hell on earth. One time, she was going to poison my cold water tank. And another, she was going to hang some special kind of microphone down the chimney so that she could hear every word I said.
Now, what effect did these calls have on you?
Well, I mean, I felt very frightened.
Yes. Now, did you take any steps to remedy the situation?
Yes, I rang the post office and they said they'd intercept every call.
And the telephoning stopped?
Yes. But then in the summer, she found other ways of making a nuisance of herself, like tipping her dustbin over into my backyard and blocking the drains. And as for the washing, well, I mean, I daren't leave that out overnight.
Why?
Well, I mean, she'd steal it. One night I lost a bra and 4 pillowcases.
I take it you didn't actually see the defendant do any of these things. You merely surmised it was her.
Well, who else?
But in September of last year, did events take a rather different turn?
In September, yes. Yes, well, you see, I'd been leaving the garden tools out all night. And then when the weather changed, I bought a little garden shed. You know, it was just one of those wooden ones in a kit, and Colin helped me put it up.
The defendant's son?
Yes. Well, the very night it was finished, I was asleep in bed, and I heard this terrible commotion outside. I went to the window, and there we are. The shed was burnt down. There was fire engines, foam everywhere.
Was anyone charged with arson following this incident?
No, Your Honour. Now, I want to move on to what occurred around Christmas of last year. Would you tell the court about that, please?
Yes, well, in December things got really bad. Every night there'd be this terrible knocking on the bedroom wall.
Now, did the defendant know where you slept?
Oh, yes, of course she did.
So she would have known that this noise was likely to prevent you from sleeping?
Yes. But, I mean, it wasn't only the banging. She was shouting and screaming. And she got this gramophone going full blast with all these terrible records. It was brass bands and bagpipes and all those jazzy things. Well, I was at the end of my tether, so I decided to go and spend a few days with my sister in Kent. It was only for 4 days, but when I got back and I opened that front door...
Yes, Mrs. Taylor?
Well, it was ransacked from top to bottom. And I'd got this photograph of my mother. It was in the bedroom, in a frame. It was the only picture of her I had. And she'd thrown it on the floor and stamped on it.
Had anything been stolen?
No, not a blessed thing.
Thank you, Mrs. Taylor.
Mrs. Taylor, you said earlier that the defendant wrote to you suggesting you should move from London to Fulchester. Now, am I quoting you correctly?
That's right, yes.
And is the letter still in your possession?
No.
Why? What happened to it?
Well, I don't know. I suppose I must have thrown it away when I moved.
Yes, I see. Now, the year 1974 was a very confusing and upsetting time for you, was it not? In January, you were divorced. Now, the house in London where you lived was owned jointly by your ex-husband and yourself, is that so?
Oh, that, yes, we sold the house.
So how much money did you receive as your share?
Oh, not a lot.
Well, it was £10,000, wasn't it? Your share, give or take 100 or two.
More or less, yes. What of it?
Well, we shall see, Mrs. Taylor. Now, will you look at this letter? This is a letter addressed to the defendant from the Slater Clinic and dated July the 15th, 1974. It is in your handwriting, is it not?
Looks like it, yes.
Yes, and the signature at the end, Audrey. Is that your signature?
Oh, hang on, I better get my specs. Yeah, Audrey, yes.
What were you doing at the Slater Clinic on July the 15th? Were you working there?
No.
No, Mrs. Taylor. In fact, you were admitted to the Slater Clinic as an inpatient on April the 14th of that year, were you not?
Yes.
Now, the Slater Clinic, which is situated in Essex, is a psychiatric clinic, is it not?
That's right, yes.
And what were you suffering from?
You must answer the question.
Well, when I was much younger, I mean in my 20s, I sometimes used to hear things and see things that weren't really there. And sometimes I was afraid to go out.
You were suffering from schizophrenia, weren't you?
That's right, yes. But then they found these marvellous drugs, and over the years I gradually got better till, in the end, I didn't even need the drugs anymore. Since 1963, I've been fine. But then with the divorce and all this upset, I had a slight turn for the worse. But it was only for 3 months, and it really wasn't bad. And ever since then, I've been as right as rain. There.
I'm not trying to persecute Mrs. Taylor. I'm simply attempting to get at the facts. Will you read paragraph 2 of the letter, please?
I am completely restored and able to cope, but I can't face living in London anymore, especially Finchley with all its unhappy memories, and in any case the house is now sold. By the way, Leonard has swindled me out of most of the money, and I've ended up with 1,500 at most. Dearest Olive, you're my best and truest friend. Is there any chance at all I could move to Fulchester and be with you? Or, if you prefer, perhaps I could rent the house next door, which you've told me is still empty.
So, it would be true to say, wouldn't it, Mrs. Taylor, that the move to Fulchester was your suggestion and yours alone?
Yes, but she agreed.
Oh, she agreed, but out of the kindness of her heart. How much rent do you pay for 34 Grange Lane?
£50 a month.
And do you consider that a fair rent for an unfurnished Regency terraced house in a pleasant part of the town?
Pretty fair, yes.
Oh, £50 a week, perhaps, but 50 a month.
Well, I mean, how was I to know what it was worth? I'd only just arrived.
Now, you were discharged from the Slater Clinic a week after writing this letter, weren't you?
That's right, a week.
Now, Mrs. Taylor, one final question about this letter. When you told the defendant that your ex-husband had swindled you out of £8,000, now, that wasn't the truth, was it?
No.
No. The fact is, isn't it, that you moved from London to Fulchester with a full £10,000 in the bank into a delightful little house for which you had to pay a mere £13 per week, having obtained the lease from a kindly and philanthropic woman through a barefaced lie. Mrs. Taylor, in July 1975, you broke off relations with the defendant and denied her access both to the house and to the garden of 34 Grange Lane, did you not?
Oh, unlimited access, yes. She'd been making my life a misery. But, I mean, there was nothing to stop her making an appointment or talking to me in the street or over the garden fence like any other neighbour.
Yet, despite this, despite the fact that you returned what I suggest was a concern for your general welfare with this act of ingratitude, Mrs. Hope reacted only with silence.
Yes. But then in the March she came...
But until then, she didn't offer you the slightest word of reproach, now did she?
No.
Precisely. Now, after July 1975, did you make any new friends in Fulchester?
No. No, I don't make friends easily. Unless you count Joseph.
Is this the builder, Joseph Bell?
Yes. Yes, he used to drop in occasionally.
And this was after he'd finished his work for you, is that right?
That's right, yes.
And these visits, they were important to you, were they not?
But they were all very innocent.
Oh, I'm sure, Mrs. Taylor. But were you at least glad to see him?
I didn't mind.
But then he made friends with the defendant early the following year and stopped calling on you.
That's right.
Well, I expect you were rather annoyed, even bitter.
I couldn't care less. I mean, what he did was his own affair.
Well, I suggest it was rather more than a trace of bitterness on your part, Mrs. Taylor. Now, in February, you made a new friend, didn't you, Mrs. Taylor? None other than the defendant's son, Colin.
Oh, Colin, yes.
And in the months which followed, you lent him various sums of money to begin an antique business, did you not?
Yes.
Were you aware that he had already applied to his mother for the money and that she'd refused?
Oh, yes.
You see, I find myself rather puzzled by all this. Here you are, a woman not devoid of, shall we say, adroitness in money matters, lending a large amount to a young man who, to your knowledge, had a history of failed business ventures behind him. Why, Mrs. Taylor?
Well, because I felt he was going to make a go of it this time.
No, Mrs. Taylor, I suggest you couldn't care less whether he made a go of it or not, and that you lent him the money simply and solely to spite the defendant.
No.
Now, isn't it the simple truth of the matter that you've blown up all the trivial annoyances which occur between all neighbours into some plot to get rid of you? That any misfortune which came your way, oh, a blocked drain, a burglary, you used first to convince yourself and now convince a court of law that the defendant was to blame?
No, really not.
Thank you, Mrs. Taylor.
Your name is Hugh Wentworth?
Wentworth, yes.
And where do you live?
12 Falcon Street, Fulchester.
And what is your job?
I'm the Tenancy Relations Officer with the Fulchester Council.
Mr. Wentworth, will you tell the court what happened on September the 15th of last year?
Well, Mrs. Taylor rang up that morning in a highly distraught state, so I cancelled another appointment and went round to see her straight away. She took me into the garden and showed me the garden shed, or rather the remains of it.
Now, in what condition was this shed?
It had been almost completely destroyed by a fire. One wall remained standing, but it was badly charred.
Did you come to any conclusions about where the fire had originated?
Yes, very much so. Not that I'm an expert, but it looked very much as if it had started just inside the door.
Now, you say inside rather than out.
Yes, the inside of what had been the door was reduced to a white ash, whereas the outside was just charred and split.
I see. Had there been any kind of lock on that door?
Just a simple catch.
Now, did you examine any of the charred wood more closely?
Yes, I did. There wasn't much to see. I'm rather short-sighted anyway. But when I sniffed it, there was a faint but very distinctive smell of petrol.
Consistent with the fact that the fire had spread with unusual rapidity.
I would say so, yes.
Now, what else did you find on this first visit?
Oh, Mrs. Taylor then took me into the backyard where I examined one of the drains and found it to be blocked. It turned out to be a number of toilet rolls that had been jammed into the drain. Then by the fence separating 34 from 36, there was a pile of rubbish that, appeared to have just been thrown over into Mrs. Taylor's backyard. And Mrs. Hope's dustbin was just on the other side, as a matter of fact. I reached over and peered inside. It was empty.
Now, did you visit the defendant on this occasion?
I did knock, yes, but there was no reply.
Could you tell the court now what happened in December of last year?
Yes, on December the 16th, Mrs. Taylor again called at the council offices in a state of great distress. She seemed quite beside herself. As a result of what she told me, I decided to call round and see her that evening.
Which you did?
Yes, I was there from 9 o'clock onwards. At 10 o'clock, this appalling banging noise started up from next door. It sounded loudest in Mrs. Taylor's bedroom.
Was it possible to tell what instrument was being used to create this noise?
Something heavy, obviously. Anyway, at midnight, I finally called at number 36. After a while, Mrs. Hope, the defendant, came to the door. She agreed to let me in. She was very pleasant at first.
Yes, and what was her explanation for these noises that you had heard?
She said she was in the process of having her bedroom soundproofed and that the banging was the builder knocking the plaster off the wall. I asked if I could take a look upstairs, but she refused to let me.
She refused?
Yes, I warned her that if she persisted in being so uncooperative, the council might be obliged to take action on Mrs. Taylor's behalf.
And what did she reply to that?
Get stuffed, you four-eyed creep.
I see. Now, did you at any time during this visit see the builder?
No.
Or hear him?
No.
Was there any banging or shouting or anything of that kind?
No, I was under the impression that Mrs. Hope was alone in the house.
Thank you, Mr. Wentworth.
Mr. Wentworth, what are your duties as a tenancy relations officer?
Well, generally speaking, we investigate any dispute between the landlord and the tenant. If the landlord's at fault, we point this out to him and ask him to behave himself. This is usually enough. But if he persists, we pass the file on to our legal department, who may initiate proceedings against him or her. If it's a woman, of course. Yes. Well, but the council will only commence proceedings if the evidence is overwhelming.
In fact, you didn't believe this case would stand a snowball's chance in hell now, did you?
I didn't believe the evidence was overwhelming. That's the council's policy. But on the other hand, I was happy, more than happy, to be subpoenaed by Mrs. Taylor in her own action, because I have no doubt whatsoever that the defendant was making her life a misery.
No personal doubt, Mr. Wentworth, or no professional doubt?
I've been doing my job long enough to know that a landlord, if he or she is clever about it, can make a tenant's life an absolute misery without hitting him in front of witnesses or cutting off the water and electricity. 1,000 spiteful little acts are just as effective in the long run.
Such as burning down a garden shed?
Such as that, yes.
Well, you've admitted you're no expert on arson, Mr. Wentworth, but did you in fact find out from any of the fire brigade officers how they suspected that the fire had started?
They didn't bother to look, apparently. They just put the fire out and left.
So in this matter, at least, we're hearing the evidence not of an expert, but of a layman.
I didn't pretend otherwise.
No, quite. Now, were you aware that the shed was newly completed?
Yes.
And did you ask Mrs. Taylor whether or not the wood had been made weatherproof by treating it with creosote?
I believe it had been treated with something of the sort, yes.
So surely you're not maintaining, are you, that 12 hours or so after a very fierce fire, you could pick up a piece of charred wood and say conclusively that what you could smell was not creosote, but petrol?
I'm pretty sure, yes.
I suggest it will be impossible, Mr. Wentworth. Now, before the fire started, there had been a window in the garden shed.
A small one.
And was there any supplementary means of lighting in the shed? An electric light bulb, perhaps?
Yes, I believe there was a light bulb.
So, Mr. Wentworth, it is very possible that the fire was caused by an electrical fault quite simply. I mean, after all, neither Mrs. Taylor nor Mr. Hope were electricians by trade. Now, were they?
Is your name Colin Bernard Hope, and you live at 15B Leopold Square, Fulchester?
Yeah.
Mr. Hope, what relation are you to the defendant?
I'm her son.
Mr. Hope, are you aware that if your mother is found guilty, it's possible that she should receive a heavy fine or even be sent to prison?
Yes, I am. But it'd be no more than she deserves.
Join us again tomorrow when the case of the Queen against Hope will be resumed in the Crown Court. The case you're about to see and the characters portrayed are fictional, but the procedure is legally accurate. The characters are played by actors, but the jury is selected from members of the general public. Olive Hope stands accused of harassing her tenant and next-door neighbour, Audrey Taylor, who yesterday gave evidence for the prosecution. The case is now in its second day, and Olive Hope's son is about to give his evidence.
The case. Mr. Hope, we've heard that Audrey Taylor had been friends with the defendant, your mother, for years. When was the first time you met Mrs. Taylor?
Must have been, well, I guess around the end of January, beginning of February last year.
That's February 1976.
What else?
Would you tell the court something of the circumstances in which you first met Mrs. Taylor?
Sure. See, when I moved out of 34, I left a lot of gear behind. Furniture, clobber, stuff like that. Well, I had this toolbox that I was needing just then, but Mum couldn't remember anything about it. So I sussed out it must be in the attic of 34. That's where I'd left it 2 years back. I called into 34 one afternoon, went into the attic, and there it was.
Your box of tools?
Right. Now, I knew there'd been some terrific hassle between Mum and Audrey, so that's Audrey and me, we started to have a rap about it.
You talked about the estrangement which had taken place between Mrs. Taylor and the defendant.
Sure, like I say.
And partly as a result of this conversation, you struck up a friendship with Mrs. Taylor?
A kind of friendship, yeah. She'd been through some bad times.
And what about your mother? Did you go on seeing her?
Occasionally, yeah.
And did she express any views of your friendship with her next-door neighbour?
And how? She just flipped her lid about it.
She was very angry.
Very.
Yes.
Mr. Hope, you've made it quite obvious that you are out of sympathy with your mother. How did this come about?
Over what she did to my marriage.
What did she do?
Well, I got married in 1973. Stell, that's my wife and me, we didn't have much bread. And I just started this small removals firm. There was a kid on the way and we had nowhere to live.
I see. And how did the arrangement work out?
Well, very badly. See, Mum was always hovering over us. Now, I've learnt to take no notice because I know she can't help it. But it started to get on Stell's nerves. Well, it all came to a head when the kid arrived. There was a little boy and we wanted to call him Dizzy Gillespie.
Dizzy Gillespie?
Yeah, Dizzy Gillespie Hope, after the jazz musician. Anyhow, Mum just went bananas. No grandchild of mine is going to be called that. What will all the other kids say when he came to go to school? All the rest of it.
She had an alternative proposal, no doubt. Most grandmothers do.
Yeah, Clive. After Grandad. His name was Clive. Well, Clive, Dizzy Gillespie, what's the difference? Names are just ridiculous anyway. So I said okay. But Stell wouldn't have it. Just put her foot down. So the next thing is that Mum threatens to evict us, which we find somewhat traumatic. So then Stell ups and leaves and takes the baby with her.
And you've been living apart ever since?
Yeah, well, on and off.
I see. What is your little boy called, incidentally?
Simon.
Ah, yes. Thank you. So, what you're saying is, in effect, that your mother, through her constant meddling in your affairs, was a major factor in the breakdown of your marriage?
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Dugdale.
Now, later in 1976, you assisted Mrs. Taylor, did you not, to erect a wooden shed in her back garden?
Yeah, in September.
Now, it's been suggested that the fire which broke out the night after you completed the work had been caused by a short circuit as a result of faulty wiring.
Not a chance. Look, all it involved was a lead from the house, a switch, and a light fitting. Child could have done it.
After this incident, did you visit your mother?
Yeah, a day after.
And what did you say to her on this occasion?
I asked her if she'd set fire to the shed, and she said yes, she had.
You asked her if she had set fire to the shed, and she said she had. She actually admitted it to you?
Yeah. Well, I went spare because I've been spending 12 hours a day putting it out. But all she said was, serves you right for meddling in other people's business.
But why didn't you go straight to the police?
Well, it was a family affair. Anyway, I don't like the police that much.
I see. Now, later on last year, towards Christmas, did you visit Mrs. Taylor at home?
Sure, lots of times. See, I told Audrey to give me a buzz if ever Mum started getting really stroppy or tried to intimidate her, stuff like that. In December, it got so bad, she was ringing me nearly every other day. I used to go and sit with her. The poor lady was frightened out of her skull.
And did you yourself hear or see anything which may have led you to believe that her fears were justified?
I'll say. Shouting, screaming, banging on the walls. Then there was this record player blaring out till 4, 5 in the morning. I'd sometimes have to stay that late just to keep Audrey calm.
This shouting and screaming, did you recognise the voice?
Yeah, it was Mum's. Well, one night it got so bad, I hopped over the fence and got in through her kitchen window. I went into her bedroom, and there she was, in a nightie, bawling her head off and banging on the floor with a hammer.
And what did you do?
I slapped her face and threw the hammer out the window.
Now, Mr. Hope, this is very important. Was there, in your mother's bedroom, any sign that building work was in progress?
Not a chance.
None?
None whatsoever.
Mr. Hope, what is your profession?
I don't have a profession.
Oh, then how do you earn your daily crust, Mr. Hope?
I'm an antique trader.
Oh, an antique trader. Oh, it sounds very grand. You specialise in anything, do you? Old silver, mice and porcelain?
No. I sell anything that comes my way. Anything I'd like to own myself, that's the only criterion.
Oh, so you have criteria, then? Do you also have a shop?
No, I don't.
Then what do you have?
It's a stall in the market.
Oh, a market store. Well, isn't that a bit infra-dig for an antique trader?
It serves its turn.
Really? So old Mrs. Bloggs or Joe Soap, who happens to be wandering through the market on a Saturday morning looking for a cheap bit of fish or threepence of apples, suddenly find themselves parting with a couple of £100 for an irresistible piece of Dresden porcelain from your market store.
Of course not.
I'm sorry, I am being facetious, aren't I? Because what you sell on your market stall is just old junk, isn't it?
No.
Mr. Hope, in the 18th century, English porcelain was made of what material?
What is this? University challenge?
Mr. Hope, your present activity is just the latest in a long line of business ventures, isn't it?
I've tried a few things in my time, yeah.
Mr. Hope, I put it to you that between 1968 and 1975, the defendant ploughed in the region of £4,000 into 3 businesses for you, and another £2,000 when those ventures ended in disaster. Now, this is the case, is it not? Your mother, you'll realise, has kept proper accounts together with the relevant check stubs.
She invested some money, yeah.
And in January 1976, you reappeared in Fulchester and visited your mother to borrow yet more money. Isn't that so?
No, it was just a social call.
Now, Mr. Hope, please remember you are on oath. You arrived on this visit or some subsequent visit to ask your mother for money, now, didn't you?
No, if I did, I'd tell you, but really I didn't.
Yet barely 6 weeks later, Mrs. Taylor gave you a cheque for £1,000, now, didn't she?
Yeah?
And another £500 a month later at the end of March.
Yeah.
And this was after you'd given up hope of being able to borrow these sums as you'd borrowed them many times before from your mother.
No, look, there's no great mystery about it. Sure, I saw Mum a few times in January, but we didn't talk about money. Then in February, I met this guy in a pub who said he'd sell me the antique store for $800 because he needed the cash.
Very well. But why did you not first approach your mother?
I might have done, but it just so happened I mentioned it to Audrey when I dropped by for the toolbox.
And was it on this occasion that she lent you the money?
No, about a fortnight later.
Did you on any occasion reach an understanding with her about when and how the money was to be repaid?
Not really, no.
Mr. Hope, how long would a venture such as yours take to establish itself? I mean, you've been running this stall of yours for a full year and a half. Now, you know there's no hope you'll be able to repay Mrs. Taylor. Isn't that the truth of the matter?
No.
I suggest to you that when you return from Brighton, you approach your mother for one reason only, namely money. And that when she refused, you exploited the rift which existed between her and Mrs. Taylor for your own advantage.
That's not true.
And I suggest further that knowing you can never repay your debt to Mrs. Taylor in cash, you've done the next best thing and elected to perjure yourself here in this courtroom by inventing slanders and a pack of lies.
I just told you what I saw and heard. That's all.
I swear by Almighty God, the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Is your full name Olive Alexander Hope, and do you live at 36 Grange Lane, Fulchester?
Yes.
Mrs. Hope, you are a widow, are you not?
Yes. My husband died 7 years ago.
And what did your husband do for a living?
Oh, well, he was manager and part owner of the Beechdale Garden Centre.
Would you tell the court something about how this enterprise came into being?
Yes, well, at the end of the 1950s, I got together with my husband and a man called Scott, and together we formed the Garden Centre. Oh, it was nothing like it is now. It was very small and barely paid its own way at first. And towards the end, Scott dropped out. And curious enough, it was just after that we really got going.
And by 1970, you had a thriving business with a full-time staff of 12 and an annual turnover running into 6 figures. Is that right?
Yes. Well, after John died, I found other interests, and I sold the centre in 1972.
So there you were, an energetic and enterprising woman with many active years ahead of you, and it's fair to say, a large amount of capital at your disposal.
Yes.
What did you do next?
Well, I had other interests besides horticulture, but it was an amateur's interest, I'm afraid. It was in the field of mental illness. So in 1972, I started the Olive Hope Trust with some of the proceeds from the sale of Beechdale.
Would you tell the court something about this Olive Hope Trust, please?
Yes, well, one of the difficulties of patients in long-term hospitals, in psychiatric wards, they tend to become institutionalised. And this can lead to the ludicrous situation where they're declared mentally cured, but the outside world has become such a terrifying place they simply can't face it. So I had the idea of a series of halfway houses where they could live, look for work, and gradually get used to the outside world again. Well, I might hardly add this costs money, a lot of it. So for the last 5 years, I've been fundraising and looking for suitable buildings at the same time.
And have you been successful?
Oh, I like to think so, yes. Well, I need hardly add, I encountered a lot of stupid, arrogant prejudice at first, simply because I didn't have the right letters after my name. I've got no time for small-minded bureaucrats, I'm afraid. And then we had a pilot scheme, a fairly large Victorian house with 10 ex-patients. Do you know, it worked so well, the opposition just melted away. We got a grant from the local authority, and then another one from the DHSS. Next year we're opening 2 more houses and a further 3 the year after, with a bit of luck.
Now, Mrs. Hope, let's come to matters of more immediate concern. How long have you known Mrs. Taylor?
Oh, about 10 years on the whole, I suppose. We met on holiday in Cornwall.
And from that time, a relationship sprang up between you, which expressed itself in a fairly lengthy correspondence.
Well, we wrote to each other from time to time.
Now, what did this correspondence mean to you?
Mean? I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
Well, did you write to her as a close friend?
Oh, no. No, from the beginning, she struck me as a rather lonely, insecure person who found life rather a trial. I knew about her stays in mental hospitals, of course. No, my letters were simply made up of gossip, larded with plenty of advice about how to keep her chin up, that sort of thing.
Now, yesterday we heard extracts from a letter which Mrs. Taylor wrote to you when she first proposed becoming your tenant and moving into 34 Grange Lane. Now, what was your reaction when you read this letter?
Frankly, I was a little surprised and quite alarmed. Well, I mean, writing to an acquaintance is one, but having them as a next-door neighbour is quite another thing. But then I thought it over. I came to the conclusion I might be able to do her a bit of good.
So you replied in that vein?
More or less.
Can you remember anything else you said in your reply?
Oh, yes, that, considering that she was in a bad financial state, oh, and I really believe she was in a bad financial state.
Yes, fine.
That I would let her have number 34 at a low rental, but in return she would have to put up with certain inconveniences.
Inconveniences? What kind of inconveniences?
Well, that I'd be happy for her to use the garden, sit in it, dry her clothes, that sort of thing, but that the trees and the plants were very well established. So I didn't want her pulling anything up or planting any of her own.
I see. What else?
And that I'd like her to store some of Colin's furniture for him. And lastly, that from time to time I suffered from insomnia, and I liked to play my record player in my room late at night. But if she found this troublesome, I'd see about getting some kind of soundproofing installed.
Olive, you liar. You never said any of those
Silence.
things.
Oh, but I did. You know perfectly well I did.
How can you stand there as bold as brass
Silence.
telling all those terrible lies?
Silence in court.
Mrs. Taylor, if you interrupt proceedings again, I shall have you removed from the court.
You think you're going to talk your way out of this, don't you? But you can't stop the truth from being the truth.
Take Mrs. Taylor outside, if you will.
Don't worry. I'm going. Here and here is he. It's poison.
Mrs. Hope, did Mrs. Taylor accept the conditions you imposed and move to Fulchester a month later?
Yes.
Now, Mrs. Taylor claims that from the moment she arrived, you paid scant respect for her need for privacy and that, in her words, you were in and out all day. Now, what truth is there in this?
Well, it's like everything else she says. Exaggerated and distorted. Now, what was I supposed to do? When she asked if she could come and live with me or next door to me, I naturally concluded she wanted to be drawn out of herself. Well, I tried, and I failed. But at least I tried.
And we've also heard that when Mrs. Taylor changed the locks, bolted the communicating door and so on, you reacted with silence.
Well, yes, I did. Well, I don't mind admitting I was furious at first, particularly about the garden. And she had no right fixing the roof. Anything external was my responsibility. I'd used the same builder for a long time, and I knew nothing whatsoever about this man Bell, at least not at that stage.
Nevertheless, you went to employ Bell at a later stage yourself, didn't you?
Yes, in January. I bought some bathroom fittings over Christmas, and I asked him to install them.
Why did you choose him and not the firm who usually work for you?
Well, I might not have liked what he did to number 34, but I could see that he'd done it extremely well. I asked him to give me an estimate, and it was very reasonable.
When you took him on, were you aware that some kind of relationship had been struck up between Bell and Mrs. Taylor?
How could I? Audrey and I hadn't been on speaking terms for months.
But did you eventually become aware that a relationship had existed from what he told you?
Yes.
Did you try and lure Bell away from Mrs. Taylor?
No, of course not. In fact, when I heard about it, I did all I could to encourage him to see more of Audrey, well, while he was working for me. But he seemed rather reluctant to do so.
Now, in January 1976, your son Colin visited you on his return from Brighton, did he not?
Yes.
What was the motive for his visit?
Oh, the usual one, money.
And shortly after this, did you learn that Mrs. Taylor had in fact lent him £1,000 herself?
Yes, I did.
How did you feel about that?
Well, frankly, Colin had been a cross I'd had to bear for rather too long. I thought if she wanted to carry it for a while, well, that was her affair.
Now, Mrs. Hope, at the beginning of March 1976, you suddenly broke the silence that existed between yourself and Mrs. Taylor, and you paid her a visit.
Yes, I did.
Now,
Well, I don't...
According to her testimony, it was on that occasion that you gave her 1 month's verbal notice to quit.
No, I didn't. Now, that is typical of what I can only describe as Audrey's paranoid distortions.
Then what did happen?
Oh, I went round one afternoon and I said that I and she might both be happier if she were to leave. Well, she must realise that by now I knew that her financial position was in a much healthier state than I'd first imagined.
But did you give her 1 month's verbal notice to quit?
No, I did not.
Did you attempt to set any sort of time limit on her length of stay?
No.
Mrs. Taylor alleges you inflicted a spate of telephone calls on her in April last year. Did you ring her up at any time during April?
No, I didn't.
Now, during the summer, Mrs. Taylor claims you indulged in a number of petty acts of harassment. Did you ever empty your dustbin into her backyard?
No.
Or steal a washing?
No.
Or block her drains with toilet rolls?
Of course not. All these things she did herself just to implicate me.
In September, Mrs. Taylor's garden shed caught fire one night and was partially destroyed. Do you remember the occasion?
Yes, I do, very well. I was having a particularly bad bout of insomnia at the time. I think I was probably the first person to be aware that something was amiss. I looked out of my bedroom window, I caught sight of the flames, and I dialed 999 immediately.
You called the fire brigade?
Well, yes, in that dry weather with all those sparks flying around. I was terrified it might spread.
So you didn't yourself set fire to the shed?
Well, I'd hardly do that, then call out the fire brigade 5 minutes later, now would I? That's the sort of thing that little boys do.
Did you, the following day, tell your son Colin you were responsible for the shed burning down?
I might have said, of course I did it, but Colin's so dense he doesn't realise when I'm being sarcastic. Oh, really, the whole suggestion was too ludicrous.
Now, in December last year, did you again call on the services of the builder, Joseph Bell?
Yes, I did. I was having another spell of sleeplessness, and I knew perhaps my record player was worrying Audrey because she kept banging on the bedroom wall. So I asked Joseph to put a layer of soundproofing between the plaster and the brickwork.
And he agreed?
Yes, he did. But he could only work in the evenings and late at nights because he was working somewhere else during the day. And of course I wanted the job done urgently for Audrey's sake.
And this explains the noises that Mrs. Taylor heard?
Yes. But she wouldn't give me a chance to explain what I was doing and why.
As this is the case, why didn't you let the tenancy relations officer, Mr. Wentworth, see the work in progress when he called?
Oh, yes. Well, in retrospect, that was a mistake on my part. But he was such a thoroughly objectionable little man, I lost my temper. Well, smug, arrogant little officials get on my nerves, I'm sorry, but if he'd called at the proper time, I mean, he came so late at night, if he'd rung and made a proper appointment to inspect the house, I wouldn't have had the least objection.
Was Mr. Bell upstairs when Mr. Wentworth called?
Yes. Well, I asked him to wait quietly at the top of the stairs, just in case whoever it was turned out to be a mugger or rapist or something.
Oh, yes, of course. Did you, Mrs. Hope, at any time over the Christmas holiday of 1976, break into 34 Grange Lane and vandalise the house?
Of course not. The whole suggestion's absurd.
Were you at home over the Christmas period?
Well, only on Christmas Day. The other days I was visiting friends.
So it's quite possible you saw and heard nothing of the breaking simply because you were not at home at the time?
Well, there's no other explanation. I'm bound to have heard a racket like that.
Thank you, Mrs.
Hope. Mrs. Hope, does the notion of success mean a lot to you?
Well, I'd rather succeed than fail, yes.
Yes, I dare say most of us would, Mrs. Hope, but it's granted to very few of us to start two quite separate enterprises within 20 years and make a success of both of them.
True.
What personal qualities would you say are vital to a successful businessman or businesswoman?
Well, hard work, I suppose, and determination.
Persistence? The basic facts of your professional life, I would say that the ability to persist against all odds is an overriding quality. You started the garden centre in 1957, did you not?
Yes.
And in what year did the centre show a profit sufficiently large for you to contemplate expansion?
1965, I think.
1965, that's 8 years. Then in 1972, you set up the Olive Hope Trust. But according to what you told my learned friend, a whole 4 years later, 1976, that scheme was hardly off the drawing board, was it?
No, it wasn't. But I'm afraid that was partly my fault. To begin with, I made a rather lot of mistakes. And a lot of enemies, too.
Yes, but again, you persist. Until now, success is just around the corner. Of these two enterprises, the garden centre and the trust, which is the one you'd most like to be remembered by?
Oh, the trust.
The trust. So it'd be fair to say that the Olive Hope Trust was to be the climax of your career.
Yes.
Yes, now, Mrs. Hope, forgive me for raising this, but it's my duty to do so. Your personal life has been far less happy, hasn't it?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
Well, for instance, this man Scott, the third man at Beechdale Garden Centre, you told my learned friend that towards the end, Scott dropped out. Yet you yourself were very attached to him, were you not?
Yes. In a perfectly proper way.
Well, anyway, he left the business in October 1960 and a fortnight later committed suicide. Is that not so?
He died in a car crash.
At the inquest, one witness testified he saw Scott wrench the steering wheel and accelerate into a brick wall.
I never believed that story.
And then your husband died in 1970, at the age of 46. What did he die of?
He had an incurable disease.
He was an incurable alcoholic, was he not? And he died of a massive hemorrhage caused by cirrhosis of the liver. Now, I suggest that this left you with two people to whom you could turn. One was your only child, Colin, and to put it neutrally, he turned away from you and rejected you, and the other was Audrey Taylor.
No, she was never my friend, never.
And then you found you were being rejected by her too. So you set out on this vindictive course of action, which has resulted in this case being brought against you.
Join us again tomorrow when the case of the Queen against Hope will be concluded in the Crown Court. The case you're about to see and the characters portrayed are fictional, but the procedure is legally accurate. The characters are played by actors, but the jury is selected from members of the general public, who will retire at the end of the trial to reach their own unrehearsed verdict. Olive Hope stands accused of harassing her tenant and next-door neighbour, Audrey Taylor. Yesterday, Mrs. Hope was cross-examined in the witness box. The court heard first of the successes of her professional life, then later of the tragedies of her personal life. Today, cross-examination continues.
In this way. Are you ready to carry on, Mrs. Hope?
Yes, thank you, Your Honour.
We could adjourn for a short while if you wish.
Oh, no, I'm quite all right.
Mr. Dugdale?
You see, Mrs. Hope, if Mrs. Taylor had at one time been a friend of yours, rather than a mere acquaintance as you had first claimed, then a number of things become clear which are otherwise quite inexplicable. You see, you yourself have admitted that this correspondence with her went on for 10 years, and during that time you wrote to her very frequently, didn't you?
Quite frequently.
And you generally opened these letters with some endearment, such as my darling Audrey or dearest Audrey, did you not?
Well, I might have done. I simply wanted her to think that somebody was fond of her.
And then there's this matter of the garden of number 34. You see, if Mrs. Taylor were just an acquaintance, and if you wanted to maintain the garden, it'd be the simplest matter in the world to have a clause to that effect inserted into the lease. But the lease gives her total rights over the garden, doesn't it?
It was a ladies' agreement.
Mrs. Hope, when Audrey Taylor denied you access to number 34 by having the locks changed, you were bitterly hurt, were you not? This was another betrayal, in a sense the final betrayal, by someone you imagined you were close to.
No, it was not.
Well, I suggest it was. Now, you say you never rang Mrs. Taylor in April.
That's right.
Can the defendant be shown Exhibit 3, please? These are 5 quarterly telephone bills relating to the period October 1975 to December 1976. They're yours?
How did you get hold of these?
Just answer, Mrs. Hope, do all these bills relate to your telephone?
Yes.
Now, the bills show a pretty constant amount of calls, don't they? All in the region of 1,100 units. All except one, that is, and that is the bill for April to June of last year. Now, can you explain why your quarterly bill suddenly shows almost 2,000 units?
I'm afraid I don't know. There must be some reason.
Yes, there certainly must be.
Oh, yes. Yes, now I know what it was. At that same month, in April, I made a couple of long telephone calls to New York, to a charitable institution that sometimes takes an interest in projects such as mine. It all came to nothing, I'm afraid.
Yes, what is the name of this foundation?
It was the Everett Chase Foundation.
And are you in possession of any letters from them?
No, the contact was entirely by telephone.
Oh, I see. Well, what was the name of the official with whom you dealt?
Oh, yes, it was something long and Russian-sounding. It ended in Ansky or Onsky. Sorry.
What is the address of the foundation?
I can't remember.
Its telephone number?
I'm not being very helpful, am I?
Now, Mrs. Hope, as regards the Olive Hope Trust, its darkest hours, you've admitted, was around spring and summer of last year, wasn't it?
Yes, it was going through a difficult time.
Yes, yet here, next door to your own home, is a property, if it didn't have a sitting tenant, worth £20,000. And yet you say you put absolutely no pressure on her to leave. You merely thought it was a good idea. Are you seriously expecting the court to believe that?
It's the absolute truth.
You, a woman of formidable persistence and strength of character, giving way to one very ordinary middle-aged woman of no great capability.
I knew I'd get the money by other means.
Yes. Now, these records that you play into the early hours of the morning, the bagpipes and the military bands, are they a cure for your insomnia?
Well, they do have pleasant associations for me. You see, my father was a colonel in a Scottish regiment. And anyway, I never played them loudly. I have perfect hearing.
Oh? Well, if you never played them loudly, why did you engage the builder Joseph Bell to install a layer of soundproofing in your bedroom wall?
Because even the slightest sound seemed to upset Audrey. I was doing my best to help.
I see. Is the work now completed?
No. And when I heard that Audrey was going to bring out a criminal charge against me, I thought, why should I make life pleasant for her when she's doing her very best to make life unpleasant for me? So in February, I asked Joseph to replaster the wall and leave the room in the same condition that it was in originally.
Yes, I see. She is now done?
Yes.
And this, you say, explains the banging noises which were heard?
Yes.
How much has he charged you for this work?
Well, nothing as yet. We decided if the room has to be soundproofed eventually, he'll put the two bills together and I'll pay it in one go. Joseph and I have complete confidence in each other.
Ah, you have complete confidence in each other. So I dare say that when you purchase more houses for your trust and you want them converted, it'll be the firm of J. Bell & Sons that you'll choose for the conversion.
I may do. I haven't made up my mind.
But theirs is the tender which will receive your support.
Well, how should I know? They may not want to submit one.
Now, you maintained in your testimony to my learned friend that Bell could only spare the time for this soundproofing in the evening. Yet it appears that he worked not only then, but far into the night as well.
Yes. Well, he and I, for our different reasons, wanted the job completed in as short a time as possible.
Really? Well, after 3 months, all he's succeeded in doing is to replaster 2 bedroom walls. Is that why 3 witnesses have testified they heard you shouting while this supposed work was in progress? Wasn't he going fast enough?
I never shouted. I never raised my voice.
Come, Mrs. Hope, what kind of cock and bull story is this? Isn't the truth of the matter that in December the only person in that house was yourself, and that with a hammer or some such instrument you made as much noise as you possibly could to frighten a nervous and lonely woman?
No, it is not.
Then why can you not present a single shred of evidence in the form of a receipt or bill to show that you engaged Bell to do this work and that he in fact did the work?
I told you. It was all very informal.
Mr. Bell, when did you get to know Audrey Taylor?
Mrs. Taylor? That would be in July, 2 years ago.
And you worked on a house in conjunction with your 2 sons, is that right?
Yes.
What did this work consist of?
Let me see. The roof. My 2 boys did that. Not soft, you see. In the meantime, I put mortise locks back and front, and then she wanted a stretch of watting about 2 feet high to divide off the 2 gardens.
What about the communicating door, the one in the hallway?
Oh, yes, I put 2 steel bolts, top and bottom. And then we had to turn into removal men to carry various bits and pieces into number 36.
Were you aware that this furniture belonged to Mrs. Hope's son, Colin?
No, sir, no.
Now, after that, you became quite, well, friendly with Mrs. Taylor, didn't you?
For a time, yes.
And was your friendship an informal one?
Well, I've never heard of a formal friendship. Unless I've been missing out.
Well, what I mean to say is you didn't visit her on a regular basis.
No, on a motorbike.
Mr. Bell, this is a court of law, not a music hall. Unless you take your duties as a witness seriously and answer simply and truthfully the questions put to you by counsel, I shall fine you for contempt.
Sorry. Fair enough, Your Worship.
Did you, Mr. Bell, pay regular visits to Mrs. Taylor?
Oh, I just used to visit her when I was in the area, that's all.
And Mrs. Taylor was a friend and nothing more?
As far as I was concerned, that's all, yes.
But in December, these informal visits of yours, they came to an end, didn't they?
December, yes, yes.
Now, why was that?
Well, I don't know how to tell you, really. But one evening we were having a chat over a cup of tea, and suddenly she brought up the subject of marriage. And then she put her hand on my knee, and she had a new dress on, sort of a fancy effort. And she said to me, did I think it was becoming? And I said, becoming what? I'll tell you this much, it was becoming too much for me. So I left. I said there was no hard feelings, but I was past that sort of thing. You know.
And your visits ceased from that point?
Oh, yes, yes.
Now, in January, you installed some bathroom fittings for the defendant, Mrs. Hope.
Yeah, that's right, yes.
Then, the following December, Mr. Bell, you agreed to undertake further building work for Mrs. Hope at 36 Grange Lane, isn't that so?
Yes.
What was the nature of the work?
Oh, she wanted her bedroom soundproofed.
Did she say why?
Yes, well, it seemed at this time, Audrey and Olive, Mrs. Hope, weren't exactly on the best of terms. That's putting it mildly. It appears the bone of contention was Mrs. Hope's gramophone.
How did you intend to soundproof the room?
Oh, well, to strip the walls and put a lining of cork between the plaster and the brickwork.
Did you give Mrs. Hope an estimate for this work?
Yes, I gave her a verbal estimate. I said it cost about £300.
When you started the job, you worked in the evenings, didn't you?
Yes.
And sometimes until the early hours of the morning.
Oh, yes, because that's the only time I had to spare, you see. I mean, I tried to be quiet, but knocking out great lumps of plaster with a hammer and chisel, it's difficult not to be noisy.
Did you, in fact, succeed in soundproofing the room?
No, because after a while, Mrs. Hope asked me to stop, so I replastered the wall without putting in the cork.
Have you been paid for this work?
No, but when you know a person can pay, you often do work on account. It creates a nice feeling, good feeling. I'm sure I should do other work for Mrs. Hope.
In the time you've worked for Mrs. Hope, have you ever known her express her feelings to you about her next-door neighbour?
Yes, like I got the impression that her and Mrs. Taylor were very close at one time, and she was worried sick about Audrey not being happy living next door. As regards all those other things she's supposed to have done, Mrs. Hope, I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, she might have a rough edge to her tongue. She's the softest-hearted person I've ever met.
How long have you run your own building firm, Mr. Bell?
Oh, 20 years, nearly 21. We get the key of the door next March.
Now, between January and December of last year, some kind of friendly relationship sprang up between you and the defendant, did it not?
Oh, I used to drop in and see her occasionally, yes.
Yes. Now, you say that you were drawn together by a mutual concern for Mrs. Taylor's welfare. Yet at the same time, you were aware of a rift between the two women.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yes. Well, surely, well, seeing nothing of Mrs. Taylor and seeing so much of Mrs. Hope, you must, after a while, have been inclined to take Mrs. Hope's side?
No, sir, no.
Yet your friendship with the defendant involved a considerable amount of trust, didn't it?
Well, I trust everybody unless they give me reason not to.
Well, for instance, Mrs. Hope still owes you quite a lot of money, according to your testimony.
What, for the plaster and so on? Yes, £300.
Does this bill appear somewhere in your firm's accounts?
It may do, but I probably forgot to mention it. But it's all up here, though.
It's puzzling, Mr. Bell, that if both you and Mrs. Hope were anxious that this work be completed rapidly, that you didn't ask one of your sons to help you.
Oh, yes, well, I tried, but they prefer putting their feet up every night watching the telly.
Ah. We were aware at the time that whatever the outcome of the case, Mrs. Hope and Mrs. Taylor will still be living next door to each other.
Yes. Oh, yes, yes.
Well, eventually, the two walls which you say you replastered will have to be soundproofed anyway, won't they?
Maybe.
So when you first removed the plaster from the wall, why didn't you tell Mrs. Hope that it would be much cheaper for her in the long run to have the cork put up then and there?
Yeah, well, it didn't cross my mind, but now that you pointed out, yes, it is funny. Yes, yes.
Yes. Really, Mr. Bell, Isn't the fact of the matter that it was Mrs. Hope herself who made all the noise, and that if you have indeed put any new plaster on the wall, it was simply to save Mrs. Hope being found guilty of this charge of harassment?
I was there. I did the work.
When the tenancy relations officer, Mr. Wentworth, called at Mrs. Hope's house towards midnight on December the 18th, we were upstairs at the time.
Well, someone called, yes. Mrs. Hope told me who it was afterwards.
And you were standing guard at the top of the stairs?
Yes?
Can you give me a description of Mr. Wentworth?
No, I can't really. No.
Well, what's his voice like? Is it high or is it low?
I can't remember.
Now, Mr. Bell, finally, were you, during the period of your friendship with Mrs. Taylor, in possession of a key to the front door?
For a time, yes.
And did you at any stage give that key to Mrs. Hope?
No, sir.
Or have a copy made of it on her instructions?
No, sir.
Detective Sergeant Fenton, Fulchester CID.
Detective Sergeant, what's happened on the morning of December the 28th of last year?
As a result of information received at Fulchester Central Police Station, I and Detective Constable Price visited 34 Grange Lane that morning.
And at about what time was it?
At around 11:45.
Mr. Dorney, does the detective sergeant have a notebook to which he can refer?
It's here, Your Honour.
After all, these events took place nearly a year ago. Yes, carry on.
Who answered the door when you called?
Mrs. Audrey Taylor. She seemed in a very distressed state.
Tell the court, if you would, what you saw when you examined the house.
Well, the place was in a shambles. Furniture overturned, ornaments smashed, there was glass everywhere.
Which room was this?
They all seemed to be as bad as each other, really. It's impossible to say which was the worst. Possibly the kitchen. There didn't seem to be an item of crockery that hadn't been smashed to smithereens. Upstairs was almost as bad. Whoever it was had turned on the bath taps, put the plug in and let them run. The upstairs part of the house was inches deep in water. The carpets were ruined, naturally, and the mattress from Mrs. Taylor's bed had been pulled onto the floor, presumably so it would get a good soaking as well.
Did you come to any conclusion about how entry had been gained in the first place?
Yes, there was a window broken in the bathroom, and one could only presume that entry had been gained by this means.
Had anything been stolen?
No, nothing.
Were any valuables or cash on the premises at the time of the break-in?
Well, yes, there was a shoebox at the bottom of a wardrobe covered in a pile of old clothes. It contained about £500 in £5 and £10 notes, which the intruders had overlooked. Also, there was a string of pearls, which seemed to be of some value.
Did you find any fingerprints?
No, none. But by this time, I had a pretty clear suspicion of who was responsible. You see, there'd been a number of burglaries in the Fulchester area in the months prior to Christmas, which all conformed to the same pattern. Namely, houses broken into while the owners were away. Nothing much stolen, electrical goods and the like. Mainly hi-fi equipment. But a great deal of vicious and pointless vandalism.
I see. Did any incident take place while you were examining number 34?
Well, yes, we came in a Panda car and Mrs. Taylor's neighbour must have seen us coming and dropped round. Mainly out of curiosity.
And who was this neighbour?
She introduced herself as Mrs. Hope.
Can you see Mrs. Hope in the courtroom today?
Yes, that's Mrs. Hope over there.
Yes, carry on, Detective Sergeant.
Well, she explained that she was the owner of the house and that Mrs. Taylor was her tenant.
What was her reaction when she saw this appalling scene of destruction?
Oh, very upset, naturally.
And had Mrs. Hope seen or heard anything which was of any help to you?
No, she'd only got back herself that morning. She'd been to stay for a few days with a friend in Crewe.
Yes, go on.
Well, Mrs. Hope was about to go back to her own house when Mrs. Taylor suddenly rushed forward. She seemed beside herself with rage, and, well, before I could stop her, she slapped Mrs. Hope across the face, and she said, "You rotten cow, you've gone too far this time." Well, I asked Mrs. Taylor if she thought Mrs. Hope was responsible for the damage, and she said, "Of course she's responsible. Who else would do a thing like this?"
And did you put this accusation to Mrs. Hope?
Well, yes, I did. She denied it absolutely.
And no charge was ever brought against Mrs. Hope?
Oh, no, there was no evidence to suggest that Mrs. Hope had anything whatsoever to do with this.
Thank you, Detective Sergeant.
Detective Sergeant Fenton. You say there were a series of burglaries in the area prior to the break-in at 34 Grange Lane, which bore a number of similarities to this one.
Yes, that's right.
Has anyone been arrested and charged in respect to these burglaries?
Yes, 3 of them, actually. 2 youths aged about 15 and 16 and an older man of 22.
And when they were arrested, did they admit to any of the charges?
Yes, all of them.
Including 34 Grange Lane?
No, they denied all knowledge of that, and as that was one case where the police had insufficient evidence, the charge was dropped.
Now, what did the evidence in the other cases consist of?
Sometimes fingerprints, but also we recovered most of the stolen goods in a lock-up garage rented by the 22-year-old.
Yes, which you could trace to all the houses that had been burgled. Is that not so?
Yes.
None of them belonged to Mrs. Taylor, did they?
No.
No. Now, when you examined 34 Grange Lane on December the 28th, were there any items, apart from money, which you might have expected these thieves to this gang to have taken?
I'm afraid I can't remember.
Well, Detective Sergeant, happily I'm in a position to tell you that Mrs. Taylor had purchased, not a week previously, a very expensive vacuum cleaner. Now, this wasn't taken, and nor was her battery-operated lawnmower. And yet examples of all these items were found amongst the stolen goods in this lock-up garage, were they not?
They might have been, yes.
Not might have been, Detective Sergeant, they most emphatically were found. Now, when this series of burglaries was taking place, a great amount of publicity was given to the cases in the local press, wasn't it?
Yes.
Including details of the senseless vandalism that accompanied them.
I believe so, yes.
Yes, so would you agree that it wouldn't really have been very difficult for a party other than the three eventually arrested to have simulated one of their burglaries?
It's possible.
And this might perhaps explain why, in the case of 34 Grange Lane, nothing was stolen from the premises.
It's much more likely, in my opinion, that they were interrupted while they were smashing the place up, and they probably took flight and fled empty-handed.
Yes, this is merely your theory, isn't it?
But it's a fair enough deduction.
Yeah. Now, I dare say you noticed a communicating door between the hallways of number 34 and 36 Grange Lane.
Yes, I did.
Did you ask yourself why the thieves, if they were thieves, didn't simply slip the bolt and pass through into number 36? Because, after all, according to what she told you, the defendant was aware at the time.
No, that would have been impossible. You see, there was a very large, heavy Welsh dresser in front of that door.
Ah. When you spoke to Mrs. Hope, did you ask her if she was in possession of a key to the front or back door of 34?
Yes, I did. Mrs. Hope had not had any keys to 34 since Mrs. Taylor had had the locks changed.
Now, did you check the defendant's story of her having spent some days in Crewe?
No, there didn't seem any need to.
Well, do you have the address, at least, of the friend with whom she stayed?
No.
So, for all you know, Detective Sergeant, the defendant might have just spent a few hours on a platform at Crewe Station. Or, indeed, not even have gone to Crewe at all.
Remember that the prosecution must prove beyond all reasonable doubt that the defendant, Olive Hope, was attempting during this period to deprive her tenant, Audrey Taylor, of her lawful occupation of 34 Grange Lane by a series of acts calculated to interfere with Mrs. Taylor's peace and comfort. In effect, by trying to make her life a misery. Now, it is not illegal for neighbours to be on bad terms with each other, nor even for this to express itself in the occasional cross word or spiteful deed, and it is quite clear that there has been bad blood between these two ladies. But what you have to ask yourselves is whether the defendant has done any of the things which the prosecution alleges that she has done, and if so, whether she has done all of those things or only some of them, and whether what she did was calculated to interfere with Mrs. Taylor's peace and comfort, and was intended, in effect, to drive her out. Will you now retire, elect a foreman to speak on your behalf, and consider your verdict?
Foreman, just answer the question I am about to ask you, yes or no. Members of the jury, have you reached a verdict upon which you are all agreed?
Yes.
On the charge of harassment of a residential occupier, contrary to Section 30 of the Rent Act 1965, do you find the accused guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Is that the verdict of you all?
It is.
You have been found guilty of what can only be described as very misguided behaviour. Were it not for the fact that this behaviour seems to be out of character and that there is no reason to believe that you will ever repeat it, the sentence of the court would be extremely severe. As it is, you will pay a fine of £250 or, in default of payment, go to prison for 6 months.
Court will rise.
You can join us again when our cameras return to bring you another case in the Crown Court.